Hey Siri, what's the weather going to be tomorrow?
It should be hot and sunny tomorrow, with a high of 90 degrees.
All right, so check this out. This is my new air conditioning unit. Well, I've actually had it for a year now, but it's still new to me. It's a 2.5 ton unit, and before this, the unit was about 25 years old, and it was a smaller unit. It was a 2 ton unit, so it actually struggled to keep the house cool when you would get those 85, 90 degree days. It would just run and run and run, and we would try to do everything we could do to keep the house cool. And that's where I came across some of these tips and tricks that I want to share with you guys. And then we're gonna come back outside here and I'm gonna show you some of the things that I did on my old air conditioning unit, some maintenance that I did that actually really helped make a difference. So let's head on in. Some people do a little, a lot, where I tend to do a lot, a little. So I do a lot of cleaning a little bit of the time. What I'm gonna be using is this Milwaukee M18 Fuel 6-gallon wet dry vac. So a nice thing, this doesn't run on any cords. And for cleaning up all the dust, I have this card nozzle claw right here, which is gonna come in handy. This crevice tool right here, this will rotate back so you can really get into some tight spots. And then this one I just picked up today. I was buying something at Home Depot and I just walked by that section where they have the different accessories, and I thought, you know, I wanna get this one right here and try it out on my ceiling fan. Because if you ever looked at the top of ceiling fans, they are nasty. So if you have some type of upright vacuum with an attachment, you could easily do that. But since I'm gonna be doing a lot, a little bit, this right here is gonna be the tool for the job. So here I'm cleaning the vent in my morning room. It's just off the kitchen and it really has a fair amount of buildup. I tend to try to get to these probably at least 2-3 times a year. And you can just see I'm just doing the top half and then the top inside corner and the side inside corner. And now you can just see a before and after. The bottom half I didn't do yet, and there's just all types of buildup. So if you get all that off, that'll just help to allow better airflow. Now we're going to take it off, which I don't recall I've ever taken this cover off before. It's so nasty. I wasn't actually going to show you this. It's almost embarrassing. But you can just see if you don't take the covers off, you just get so much buildup that you just wouldn't believe. So I'm using the crevice tool to go down in there a little bit more. Oh, before I do, I'm actually going to get the back side of this vent cover. There's still a lot that's stuck to that. So it's something I wish I would have done before, but at least I'm doing it now. Better late than never. And I'm going to use the crevice tool to go down in there and get as much as I can. Now, I've never had my vents cleaned, my ducts cleaned by a professional. It's something that I've never really decided whether or not it's worth doing, but I'd like to hear from you guys what you think. As far as I know, I think it would probably be a good idea. Probably wouldn't hurt, but I'm not sure how expensive it is. So now we're getting the cover back on. And we're going to go to the next situation. This is my son's room, and he has some neon green lights on the ceiling. Let me show you what's going on there. So I need to vacuum that vent cover, but you can see his tennis bag is covering half of it. So this is what I recommend doing, is training everyone in your house to keep them uncovered. Okay, now I'm using the crevice tool again, and we're going to get some other vents. These are the ceiling vents in my basement. I don't often think of those as much needing maintenance, but there's also some buildup on those periodically. Just a good idea to do what you can to, there might be cobwebs or just dust in there, just go around and get it clean. Okay, so I have a quick little project to hang this on the wall. I'm going to make a little bit of drywall mess by drilling into the wall here behind me. And this is a dust collector catcher. It's the air tip accessory for the Milwaukee vacuum. You could also use it in other wet dry vacs as well too. But if you've ever had drywall dust in your house, let's say you've done some work and you sanded, that stuff can get into your furnace and then, or into the ductwork, and then it just blows it all around the house. So it's a really good idea to contain the drywall dust. So since we just cleaned all the vents, let's tackle a project without adding more to it. So I'm going to have to drill a couple holes for the anchors, and then I think there's 2 screws will actually go into the stud, but we'll also put that air tip below it. So what's cool about this, you can just mount it right against the wall, All the dust falls in here like a funnel and it sucks it in to the vacuum, and there's a fleece filter and there's also a pleated filter. Oh, it's hollow. All right, just like that, virtually no dust. Here I'm in the furnace filter aisle at Home Depot. You can just see all the different choices, all types of price ranges. So the cheap ones, you can see through them fairly well and they don't have as much filtering. The more expensive ones are pleated. Some have allergen quality. And this is a newer type of filter. This is what my furnace has. It's a 6-month filter where the other ones are typically 3 months. And instead of getting a pleated expensive one like this, I recommend getting this cheaper one that you can see through. That will allow better airflow. So maybe different times of the year you might want to switch it out, but for better air and cooling, this is what you want. All right, so let's look at reducing some sources of heat like the light bulbs. So say you have some fluorescent bulbs. This is a standard T8 bulb, 109 degrees. The same one in LED, it's 18 degrees cooler per bulb. And then here's a smaller 60 watt bulb, 125 degrees for the incandescent. If you switch to LED, it's 40 degrees cooler. That's per bulb. And then if you have some unoccupied rooms, shut the door and you don't have to cool those rooms if you don't need to. And later in the day, the sun shines into these windows right here. So we just prefer to pull the blinds down, and they're a cellulose shade. So it still lets some really nice light through. But the cloth material definitely helps insulate the heat from coming in and keeps the cool air in as well. And then when it comes to cooking your dinners, consider not using your oven or stove and moving outside. If you're into grilling, this is a good time to get out there and use the heat outside instead of inside. All right, so here's something I find very helpful, is having a programmable thermostat. And the thing I like best of all is that I have an app for this. So this one works really well. So if I want to go to my schedule, I can run it. So our utility company actually has an increase of 50% between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. So I try to have it cool down before that time so it doesn't really run that much between the high rate period. So that alone definitely saves me some money. So when it comes to doing some preventive maintenance on your condenser unit outside here, there's several videos that I found that really help me out. I'm not an HVAC expert, so I'm not going to make a video on that. But a couple things that I learned. One, I had a repair tech come out here years ago, and he just noticed I had a bunch of weeds around here, and the weeds were going up against this and not letting it breathe like it should. So the first thing he said is, you need to keep this clear of all the weeds. And right now, you can see I have some work cut out for me before these things start growing. So that's gonna be one of the projects that's gonna be very high up on my list to make sure that I take care of that. So last summer I did some maintenance to my old unit, and the first thing I did, strip the breaker, make sure that everything is shut off, that this will not power on. So I think I removed some screws, so I was able to flip this up. There's some wires that are connected, and I propped it on something. So you have to be careful that you don't pull any wires loose. And this is probably gonna be pretty hard to see, but there's little fins on here, like a radiator, like in your car. So if they're bent up in some places, you can buy this comb that you rake through there, and then it keeps the fins straight instead of them being flattened out. When you open the fins, then that allows the air to go through. And then I found a can of coil cleaner. It's something I found at Home Depot. The expert that I found on YouTube, that's what they recommended using. And then I believe I just sprayed sections at a time, then used my garden hose to rinse it off. And I started from the inside and spraying out. So on this particular unit, I'm gonna have to find the owner's manual and see what they recommend. I don't know if I would take this cover off in this panel, but what I did in my old unit, I sprayed and flushed all the dirt out. And if you look down here, it was just amazing how much dirt you were getting out of those, like those pores were just being opened up, and that allowed the unit to run more efficient. So if you haven't taken a look at your air conditioning unit, I recommend you go outside and just see what it looks like. See if you have like a buildup of a lot of pollen, or maybe if you have a lot of cottonwood trees, which I'm fortunate right around here. I don't have that many, but just going down the road or into the next town, there's a lot of cottonwood in the spring. You just see it looks like snow flying through the air. So take a look and just see if it needs to be cleaned. If you don't want to tackle that yourself, I recommend that you find a reputable, licensed air conditioning and heating pro, and they can clean it. They can also do a tune-up as well. So one thing I was thinking about while you're running your air conditioning, make sure that your windows are all shut and latched. You may have had them open during the morning when there was a cool breeze, but now when the air conditioning is running, you may have forgot that there could be a little gap in letting some heat in or let the cool air out. And then let me know what you think about this list that I came up with. Is there something else that you recommend that I left out? Please share it so the rest of this community, we can all benefit from each other and all the information that we share. And if you enjoy this type of video and you find it interesting, helpful, and informative, please give it a thumbs up and help support my channel. That's it, friends. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.